It's a DEMME.
It's a DEMME.
It's a DEMME.
It's a dummy!
Fresh takes. Na 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 na. Hey, it's a DEMME. And hey, if you guys can see me, and this is on YouTube, then that means my new camera is working and I figured it out. If you cannot see me, then we are still working on it, and shit, I need to figure that shit out. All right, let's get to it. We're talking about The Flash. Now, oh, sorry, I can hear myself. This is weird. I haven't done this in a while. All right, so we're talking about The Flash. Now, coming into this, The Flash had lots of expectations. Lots of expectations. But before we get into those expectations, I think originally when this movie was announced, and this movie went through production hell, Ezra Miller went through all of his shenanigans, or all the shit that he should have been canceled for. Expectations for this movie was very, very low. I was not expecting much. I think in my rating skills, I was expecting a 3 at most. A 3. Then the trailer came out. And I'll be honest, the trailer looked pretty good. It got me excited. I was like, cool, this looks good. Batman looks good. Michael Keaton just looks awesome. And I just wanted to watch the movie that was like one of the main reasons why I wanted to watch it. But it generally looked like a good movie. My expectations went up. 3+, that's where it was at. And then the reviews in April started coming out. And it was very, very positive. The best superhero movie ever. The best movie in years. The best movie since Endgame. The best DC film since Dark Knight. And those expectations were pretty lofty. Like expectations I wouldn't want to throw out there into the public. But that was out there. I think the whole purpose was to get people in the theaters to actually see this movie because the DCEU is ending. The DCEU is starting. But there's 4 movies in production. So it makes sense. Now, I'm here to tell you that while the expectations, it wasn't the greatest superhero movie of all time. It just wasn't. That bar was way too high. That bar is probably never going to be met with a movie with that expectation. But I'll say my expectations after hearing all the reviews were somewhere between a 4- and a 5. And it hit those expectations. So starting out with this movie started out very, very good. Actually great. This movie was great to start. And this is like the type of like beginning of a movie that I enjoy to see. I enjoy seeing superheroes doing what they do, living their daily lives. You know, because what we see Barry Allen. He's going to get coffee. He's going to work. And he's freaking out. By the way, I'm pretty sure Barry Allen is very autistic because he was freaking out very hard that the one lady who makes his food and coffee was not there. And there's so many like weird interactions with him that makes me feel like he's an autistic individual, which is not a bad thing. This is not a negative whatsoever. And honestly, if he was like autistic, I think that'd be a plus if they actually added that into the film. Anyway, what was just great was we got to see something bad was happening in Gotham. Batman needed Barry's help. Alfred calls him. Boom. He has to drop everything to go help Batman. We get to see the Justice League in action. We get to see Superman not being the help because he's doing the volcano. We get to see Batman kind of doing his own thing, taking out the criminals. And we get to see Flash, in his own words, maintenance duty. He's the Justice League's janitor. And that's such a great thing to see in superhero films. It's one of those things where it always gets a plus for me when I see a superhero just being themselves in the beginning of the movie, taking on either a challenge or taking on a villain and using their powers to the full strength, because it gives us that base. It gives us that baseline of this is who the hero is, this is what he does, this is how he saves people. And that whole like first 20-30 minutes was just one of the best parts of the whole film. It's honestly just great to see the Justice League be the Justice League. It's just great to see them live their daily lives. Honestly, a huge moment for comic book fans. Like this movie, this 30 minutes, 5. It's elite. It's great. I will say, there is thing like this whole sequence kind of shows you what the movie's going to be about. One, the effects, not great. It's just not great. but they're not bad to the point where it takes you out of the film. At least not for me. Because when he goes like fast, everything looks plasticky. It looks kind of distorted. The director, Andy, I forget his last name or how to say his last name. I'm looking it up right here real quick. Andy Muschietti? That sounds right. Anyway, he says it was purposeful because the Flash sees things in distorted views, which sure, fine. I didn't hate it. It didn't take me out of it. I watched the Flash TV show. It has worse. It has worse effects. I mean, obviously it has worse effects. It's a TV show. Doesn't take me out of the film. Doesn't take me out of the TV show. It works. It's fine. I will say the score, amazing. There was a lot of times where I'm in this film where I'm just like bouncing. I'm like, oh, this is great. This feels epic. The humor in this film is honestly there. It works. There's a lot of times I just busted out laughing. So this get into the film a little bit. Barry talks about in this whole scene he gets mad. He runs fast enough where he learns that he can time travel. And I think that means Zack Snyder's Justice League is not canon, unfortunately. That's the better version. Not canon, because he learns that he can time travel in this movie. And in the midst of this, he realizes he can save his mom. This is a very Flash, like, origin story. This is very Flash. The Flash, the TV show, covers this. You see it in Flashpoint. This movie is essentially Flashpoint, but an alternate version of Flashpoint. So he goes back to save his mom, and everything changes. As he goes back in time after saving his mom, he gets hit by this random figure, and the Speed Force gets taken back to, I believe, 2012. And he meets a younger version of himself, and this movie has two Barrys. Now, this is the part where I'm going to say that even though Ezra Miller is kind of a piece of shit person, or at least was, he killed it in these performances. Just absolutely killed it. He plays two different versions of himself, and it's just masterfully done. In moments in this film where the two characters interact with each other, it's just like you're mesmerized a little bit because you're like, how is he able to pull such a memorable performance from both characters face to face? Yeah, it's just Ezra Miller does great. And maybe the fact is Ezra Miller is so crazy that like he has to be good. Like he's a great actor because he's a crazy person. I don't know. Michael Keaton Batman, great character. He's not just a cameo. He actually has a plot. He reminds me of Thomas Wayne a little bit, and I question whether or not they approached Michael Keaton with the role of playing Thomas Wayne. And it was like, no, I want to play Bruce Wayne, and they just kind of went with it because he fulfills that role. And he does have an arc in this film, and it's well done. Supergirl, not like Superman and Flashpoint. There is a power force, not too much of a character, a little bit of a character. I believe Sasha Cohen. Oh man, sorry about that. Oh, Sasha Cal. Believe that's who is. I'm not familiar with this actress. Anyway, I thought she did a good job. For the most part, I thought she did well. Not really a performance where it really takes you. I feel like there wasn't enough there to really judge one way or another, but she didn't take it out of the film. The whole General Zod moment where there's no Superman to take him out, and he's now the big bad. He is the big bad, but he's not the big bad, if that makes sense. He's not Barry's big bad. And this is the part of the film, the third act, where the film kind of just, it doesn't fall apart. It just gets a little long. It gets a little CGI fight fest, where it's kind of just, it's all right. It's okay. They fight in this very open, barren, I'm pretty sure there was a YouTuber that called it a Dragon Ball Z wasteland. Perfect analogy, because that's what it was. It was okay. And I think and then the movie kind of goes into the Speed Force. I am definitely spoiling it. Things happen, and it was an okay ending. It didn't look great. the effects at the end wasn't great. And the ending was okay. I'm just gonna say that. But when it was emotional, when it get to the emotional parts, Ezra Miller killed it. Like I teared in my eyes. And I think this movie fails to be elite, like the reviews kind of said it was, because there wasn't that really that personal attachment that was needed for big moments, right? There is the whole Barry's trying to save his mom aspect to it, which is fine and works. It's a good premise, but it wasn't well executed because the whole film was trying to save or stop Zod, not necessarily let me be with my mom. Because he was with his mom for a little bit, and then New Barry comes, and he's just with New Barry, and then all these things start happening. He's just trying to stop the things that's happening rather than I just want to be with my mom. Which I think if they would have played more into that, this would have been a little bit more personal. And I think you need a lot of those emotions and personal like moments to really make a movie great, if not elite, one of the best. And they failed to do that. They opted for the action scene at the end. And I will say there's some big surprises at the end that I wasn't expecting when I watched this film. I was like, oh. However, when those surprises hit, it wasn't like I was emotionally invested enough where I was like, it just hit me hard. I'm thinking like great examples of like when personal moments in films that hit hard. Spider-Man dying in Infinity War. That just hit. He's looking at Tony. He's just saying he doesn't want to go. Like that hit for multiple reasons. One, we get to know this character, and so when he passes away, it's like, oh. And then we see Tony's reaction. It's like, oh, we get similar moments, vaguely similar, that just don't hit as hard. And it makes me think that if the actual characters, like the actual actors of characters that we know, I'm saying like instead of alternate versions of other characters, if we actually just got the actors and the characters of our timeline, it would have hit a little bit harder. So, how do I feel about this movie? I enjoyed it. I noticed, so when I only seen this movie once, and I kind of noticed that when I see a movie once, and if I generally enjoyed the film, I give it a pretty favorable review. And this movie, I'm noticing that I enjoyed it. It might be a more favorable review than the second time. Because this movie is fun. It's a fun movie. It's funny. A lot of good action. There's the score just hits in certain moments. Like if you're a Flash fan, like I am, boom, it's gonna hit for you. It's gonna be like, this is the movie I wanted. Is it amazing? Is it elite? No. It's better than good. So this is what I'm saying. Here's my rating. It's not a 5. It's not a 3. It's a 4 minus for me. It's great. With borderline, there's moments where it's just good. So I'm kind of on the edge of like, is it a 3 plus? Is it a 4 minus? I'm going to say 4 minus. I think it's in the 4s. The ceiling is a 4. I almost wanted to give it a 4 plus in the middle of the movie, but as the movie went further on, it just kind of felt like it didn't hit as hard. So I end with a 4 minus. Could have had a better ending. And when I say better ending, more personable ending, more the final villain, which they don't really tease. They could have done a better job with. So, Flash, what do you guys think? 4 minus for me. Please tell me your reviews, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether or not you click the link at Facebook, whether you want to tweet at me. Please let me know what you guys thought of the film. It's a 4 minus for me. It's good, though. It's a good film. I think it's worth watching. I don't know if it's worth in the movie theaters. If you're a Flash fan, Flash comic book fan, watch it in theaters. It's worth it. All right, I'm out. I'm still not pressing that button. Oh, the space bar works for this. Nope, it didn't. Boom.